Alright, so with the AUTOFUSION series, when I'm platforming two different cars, at the beginning of this video after the intro we are going to be starting off exactly where we left off in the last video. But I like the idea of showing you what this video is all about right at the beginning of the video so you can see where we are going. So my mindset in the beginning of this video is what pieces am I going to need before I take the truck out of commission, or what am I still going to need to use the truck as a truck for? Number one being this gantry crane right here, and also I didn't want to leave that old farm style bed on the back of the truck. I think that looks pretty good, but as I bring it to the ground on this chassis, I wanted to go with something a little different. I had a few ideas for a couple different things. You'll just have to watch and find out. So let's just go ahead and get started and make some really good progress to eventually get to this point right here. Can't wait, dude. This is exciting stuff.
And now, you're watching the ongoing score that is Sandbag 1, Captain Confusion 0, channel of YouTube. Welcome to AUTOFUSION.
Hey, so what is up and welcome, and thank you so much for joining me yet again on another video where we are going to be AUTOFUSIONing two different platforms together to create one really cool custom nice ride, which is going to be my 1968 Ford F350 on a Lincoln Town Car chassis, body swapping. There's a couple different names for it, but either way, to begin with on this video, like I said, I wanted to do something different with the bed. I have always been a huge fan of utility beds slammed on the ground on an old truck. I don't know why. I just think it looks so rugged, so cool, has a really different look to it. And also when the tire is so slammed that when you open up that side bin, you see the tire inside of it. Really good stuff. So I definitely wanted a utility bed for this build. I found the perfect piece of junk on Marketplace, so this is bringing it back a few days ago, going to pick it up. That's tough.
And the messed up part is everything to do with it is all
Right.
Oh, the top of it'll go right a little bit.
That's gonna be a nice fit.
You actually need to go back and readjust. Hey!
Yeah, it'd be alright if it's alright.
Alright, so we just picked up the bed. It's a little sketchy. I gotta hit my brakes way soon. And this thing is full of garbage. Real rude, but it is what it is. I'll see you guys when we get back to the shop.
So here we go. This is the beautiful utility box that I'm going to be using now. This thing, as you saw, was loaded on with that skid steer. So it is going to be extremely impossible for me to manage. But one thing that I'm thinking about is this thing is crazy heavy duty. You would probably put pallets of concrete back here and not even second guess it or anything like that. And also with what I'm doing, how everything's gonna have to be configured, I'm gonna have to figure out exactly where I want the box, because I don't know yet exactly where my wheel's gonna fit. I don't know how much lower it's going to be than the frame itself. The goal would be, when this truck is aired out, if it ends up being on air, I want this bottom edge to be on the concrete, or really this bottom edge should meet this bottom edge, and that's all going to be weird with the new frame. So I think the approach is going to be cut off this box, cut off the other box, then place the boxes exactly where I want them to be, front, back, height, and then build a floor in the middle. So the bed right now, from here to here, is about 4 feet, so you can put a full sheet of plywood in it. I think that's a good starting point for us to shoot for, but either way, we gotta get it cut off, then take it off, and then figure out how to make it work on the frame. Let's start cutting. got the left side and the right sides of the utility box torn down. I'm just going to put them off to the side until we can eventually get back to them once the cab is all set up exactly where it needs to be. All right, so continuing with the trend of needing to use this truck before I make this truck unusable, because I need to use it to get stuff that I'm going to be doing with the truck. So I went ahead and I got me a gantry crane or gantry lift. That's what it's called. So that's in this big box. This is the actual chain yo-yo hoist crank thing. So I got this right here. Let me just bring this in the shop. And yesterday, man, it's actually like 2 days later since the last clip that you just saw when we were messing around with the box and whatnot. Now, yesterday morning was the first, oh shoot, yesterday morning was the first Rise and Shine by AUTOFUSION. What a great event that was. If you guys are in the Central Florida area and are able to make it out to Sanford, Florida, the next one's just going to be July 1st, first Saturday of every month. Really cool stuff. But I know a lot of you guys aren't local, so I'm not gonna dwell on that. So I actually got some straps from the store as well in case I needed to strap this down, but I didn't have to, but extra straps are cool anyways. So I'm going to be setting up the A-frame structure right here, so that way eventually I can pull the cab off and then I'll back the chassis or the carcass, the Lincoln Town carcass. It's not a town car anymore, it's more of a carcass of a town car. Lincoln Town carcass, I kind of like the way that sounds. So I guess I'm gonna work on getting this assembled, and then we'll see where it goes.
According to our investigators,
So at this point we have the gantry crane all set up 100% ready to go. Last night I pulled the truck over here, and as it's sitting in the shade I just want to get the hood pulled off, and then we'll eventually get the front end into the shop. But I think the hood comes up too high for me to work on it in the shop or anything. So now ultimately what we want to get into is tearing the truck down. We want to get the front end off first, get that completely stripped, and then I will start to shift my gears towards getting the cab stripped out, getting the doors pulled off. There's a big spider web right here. Getting the doors pulled off, getting the seats out, getting the fuel tank out of the cab to eventually pull the cab off the body using the gantry crane that I just got set up. That's why I bought it, and that's what we got to do. And that's where this is heading. So let me figure out what size we need over here for the hood. Initially, I was gonna try to get away with not using one of those lifts at all because it is like $1,000. But seeing how heavy those boxes were and just thinking about it, there's no way to do it without getting one. So it is what it is. Oh, this ain't no Honda hood, baby. Okay, I didn't know exactly how that was gonna go, but the only way to see how it's gonna go is to just start going for it, right? All right, so that's good. Now I think I'm gonna get the town car, or the carcass, out of the shop to get this front end in there to start tearing the front end down actually in the shop. So let's go ahead and make that happen. front end off, I want to turn my attention to the cab, but really quickly I wanted to mention something. As I'm ripping off the front end, just like with the town car, I am being a little bit strategic with exactly what I'm removing and how I'm removing it. Even though we have the platform out there that is the Lincoln Town Car, this itself is going to become a new platform, so I want to keep the straight 6 running. I want to keep everything working. One thing that I had to make sure of, besides strapping everything down, like I got the battery strap right here, radiator support is completely gone. That's going to be going in the new car because that holds the front end together. But I also had to re-ground the ignition solenoid, starter solenoid, or whatever you want to call that. So just as I'm looking around the car, it looks pretty good. The front end is really bolted onto the cab right here. There's 3 bolts right here, 3 bolts on the other side. That lays the framework for the fenders to go on. The fenders also tuck into the cab right here, so everything is going to locate itself. So as I'm starting to think about putting the cab onto the other chassis, I need to start to come up with some reference points. So one thing is, if I just use this little corner right here and I find where the center of my tire is, which is about 18 inches away, I know on the town car, if I find the center of that tire, bring this reference point 18 inches back, the tire is going to be located in the fender in the exact same location. Now, I don't know if that's exactly where I want it, but that's going to be a place to start. Once I have just that one reference point of exactly how far forward the cab needs to be, I can just worry about getting it sat on there, welded together and working. So I'll definitely get into that a lot more once we get there. I still have to do a lot more cutting, trimming, and disconnecting. My goal is to keep this running at all times. My cut is going to be somewhere along here and then along the bottom. Keep in mind, we're not using any of this floor at all. That floor is old, rotten, rusty, and has holes in it, and the other floor is already bolted to that chassis. So we're going to make the floor in the town car marry the floor of the cab, so that way it can all work and become removable on the carcass. To point out that you did see that I did brace the cab. It's super important to brace the cab because when we get the floor cut out, I don't want it to kind of cave in on itself or fall apart or anything. So it's always important whenever you're doing anything like this or cutting off a roof, you're going to want to do some bracing. Even if you're just replacing the floor in the same car, run a couple braces. It doesn't have to even be anything super nice because they're going to be cut out anyways, so that's all good. Also, I wanted to point out I did about 80% of my cutting. I'm going to leave the last 20% of the cutting until we get some vertical tension on the cab. Once we have some tension on it, I'll just go ahead and zip off the 10% on the left side, 10% on the right side, and lift this cab up nice and easy, hypothetically, hopefully. Dude, so that was definitely a battle to get the cab up in the air high enough. Now this gantry crane frame isn't that big. I also didn't want anything towering over my shop because I need to keep it a little bit low key. But as you can see right over here, man, we made it happen. It's looking good, solid. The cab is sitting right there. The chassis is right there ready to go. Now something that I absolutely would advise everybody to never do. I even hate the fact of, I don't like sticking my arms in there. I tried to get absolutely everything free before we started lifting it, but then of course you forget a couple things here and there, so it just is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. And also, I hate the fact that I had to be in the truck because the driveway's on a hill, right? And we needed the truck to back up. So I was inside the truck, and it's got to back up slowly. We can't just go crazy with it, or else the whole thing could come down. So I was inside it, pressing the brake, ducking my head down, and I just tried to get out from under it really quickly. Definitely not safe, wouldn't recommend it, but we made it happen nevertheless. And I don't know how I would have done it without the gantry crane. So obviously the next step is we got to lift this up, we got to pull that under, we got to drop that down, and that's going to be in the next video because I have quite a bit of trimming to do. We made a lot of really good progress in this video. So in the comment section down below, please let me know what you think about everything thus far. Everything's really coming together. We got the cab. I have a clear understanding of how the front end is going to be fit back onto the cab itself because the chassis is obviously not meant for it, but a lot of questions had been answered, and we're going to put the utility box on the back. Got to measure for that really soon as well. So thank you so much for watching. Like this video, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff. You know what it is, YouTube. I'll see you on the next AUTOFUSION episode. I'm out.